Hello folks, my name is Luke. I'm a smart energy solutions consultant for businesses, and this is the first in a new series of videos where I'm going to help guide you through the relationship between business and energy, covering all things like renewables, carbon credits, utilities, and everything betwixt in between. First thing we're going to be looking at today is solar energy, solar panels. And the big question is, are they worth it? Solar PV has been around since the late 1800s. Using the photovoltaic effect in order to generate electricity, hence PV, photovoltaic. It's no doubt that solar has seen a massive increase in popularity in the last decade, with the total output of PV systems increasing from 83 gigawatts in 2013 all the way up to 674 gigawatts in 2023. That's over a 700% increase. Nice one, solar. And it's clear to see why when the technology can give you ROIs of up to 100%. Not to mention the fact that it's extremely reliable, it's low maintenance, and it lasts for 20 to 30 years, well, you've got yourself a winner. Which begs the question, why doesn't everyone have it? Obviously, if you don't own the building you operate in or the roof isn't strong enough, you're not going to get off the starting block here. But this is more targeted at the businesses without those types of physical restraints. Now, the two most common problems that people encounter when it comes to solar are the initial upfront cost and then the long payback period. Now, obviously, the cost will depend upon what size and type of system you go for, but the payback period for solar tends to be around 10 years. And if you're a business looking to make a capital investment, you typically want a much shorter payback period, which then makes people ask the question, is it worth it? Well, for the most part, yes. If the biggest problem here is the long payback period, there are plenty of things we can do to reduce that payback period and therefore lessen the risk of an upfront capital investment. And I'm going to talk to you about them now in RAPs. Yeah. No, not that. Never that. Instead, RAP stands for Roof, Avoiding Shade, Price per Kilowatt Hour, and Self-Consumption. Starting with the roof, it's important to know three things: the angle, the direction, and also the space that you have. In the UK, an angle of 35 degrees is optimal, but anywhere from 15 to 55 degrees is still pretty good. And if you have a flat roof, there's the option of placing in mounts. These create an artificial angle so that you can still get the best efficiency from your panels. In terms of direction, you mostly want a south-facing roof. That's not to say you can't get a good efficiency from an east-facing or west-facing roof. They tend to be about 80%, but mostly south-facing is preferable. Note that a north-facing roof can see your efficiency drop to about 55%, so maybe less worth it there. And when it comes to available space, the bigger, the better. The more space you have means that you can have a larger number of cheaper panels, which generally can generate the same amount as a smaller group of much more expensive panels. Next, we're moving on to shading, or avoiding shading as I like to call it, because you want to avoid shading at all costs. This is because shading can have a massive impact upon your solar panels output. So if you have overhanging trees or some pesky neighbouring buildings, you can probably kiss the dreams of solar goodbye. But if you've got nothing but exposed open space, then you are good to go, my friend. Next is price per kilowatt hour, and this is referring to the price per kilowatt hour that you currently pay for your energy. The way that solar generates you money is by saving on your energy bill. Therefore, knowing how much your energy costs you is crucial. If you're currently paying a low amount for your energy, then solar might not look as promising, but it's important to know that with inflation, energy prices tend to trend upwards. In just the last 20 years, energy prices have seen a steady increase of about 6%, so it's always important to factor inflation in. On the flip side of that, if you're currently paying a high amount per unit of energy, then solar may be the answer to your prayers. And finally, we have self-consumption, which is how much of the solar energy you generate that you also use. If a solar array generates you more energy than you are currently consuming, there is the option, of course, to sell it back to the grid. However, the grid rates for this are never as good as your general day rate for your price per kilowatt hour, so it's always best to use the solar energy yourself. The quickest way to do this as a business is to look at your operating hours. For example, let's say you're a nightclub, and your opening hours are 9 PM till 2 AM. When the sun doesn't shine. This is probably not going to be the best idea. But let's say you're, I don't know, a shoe manufacturer, and you open at 7 a.m. and you close at 6 p.m. Well, you're most likely going to catch both the dawn and dusk of the sun, and you're going to be operating during those sunlight hours. You are far more likely to be using that solar energy yourself and have a higher self-consumption rate, which is what we want. You could also have things like large refrigerators going in the background that run 24/7, even when you're not actually operating as a company yourself. These things would allow you to use more of that energy yourself and give you the best bang for your buck out of your solar. And yes, it is worth noting that you can increase your self-consumption rate by purchasing a battery in order to capture those daylight hours where you're maybe not open. Say if you only opened at 10 a.m. but the sun's already been shining for a few hours, you can at least capture those with a battery, but that will raise your initial cost. And there you have it. If those 4 key factors seem to be in your favor, that could mean you're onto a much shorter payback period, which means that solar could be a worthwhile investment for you and your business. So if you feel that solar could be a worthwhile investment for you and your company, but you're still not sure where to begin in all this, then feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email. I'll put both in the description of this video. And until next time, folks, remember that Luke's looking out for you. Catch you in the next one.